I'm here at the Property Investor Show with our redress partner, the Property Redress Scheme, and joining me is Head of Redress, Sean Hooker. And Sean, we were panellists on the Great Landlords debate just now, and of course the number one thing on the agenda was the announcements by DCLG of new proposed regulation of landlords and the PRS. So you're the ideal person to get some reaction about what you think.
Yes, well, I mean, it came a little bit of a surprise to us because I know it was one of the options that the government was looking at of extending redress to landlords. But literally the civil servants were on the telephone to me the next day saying, what do you think of this? How can we implement this? So essentially, it's a kind of way of levelling the playing fields now, because at the moment a letting agent has to join a redress scheme, but the landlord doesn't.
Yep.
Now, there are some big landlords out there that act exactly like a letting agent, so why shouldn't a tenant have the same protection from those people as they are from a letting agent? But it's going to mean that the 1.8 million landlords could be liable to join a redress scheme. So the practicalities and how that will be done is something which I think will occupy us for the next few months, and legislation will come out probably within a year or a bit longer with regards to this.
It's actually quite hard to comment, isn't it? Because there was so little detail. And this is the thing that actually I think causes a lot of chaos, confusion, uncertainty, that we get these headlines and then we don't know how it's actually going to work in reality. And, both of us, we support improving standards in the private rented sector, but how's it going to work? And of course, the big sort of elephant in the room to me is, what about existing legislation that isn't currently enforced?
Well, exactly, and enforcement is always the key to good legislation. I mean, getting people to comply and getting people to, that don't comply brought to book is something that every, a landlord and agent said to me, we're happy to go along with this. We think this is a good idea, but if we do it and the others don't, then is that really fair? And the answer to that is that enforcement needs to be really racked up and joined up and resourced.
It does. I think it's quite interesting. I actually do like the idea of landlords joining a redress scheme. I think you're absolutely right that tenants in renting direct from a landlord should have the same protection as a tenant renting via a letting agent. But then how does landlord licensing fit in with all of this? Because surely this is going to supersede landlord licensing. Again, confusion.
More confusion, but hopefully with the ultimate aim that at least there'll be a one-stop shop. What we need is one single register, one point of access that a landlord or an agent goes to. Get rid of all the other ones there and just centralise it into one and make it cost effective. That's the secret. Now, can government deliver that efficiently? Can government do that in a joined up way? I was a bit encouraged after speaking to the Welsh Government this week that they have got over 80% of their landlords and letting agents registered. That's taken them 2 years, and they've still got 20% that are not. So, these are the challenges that we face in the next 2, 3, 4 years.
Well, what I find slightly disconcerting is that civil servants phone you the day after the announcement. To me, it would make sense that the existing schemes are already there for lettings agents. They're already running efficiently. They're doing what they were set up to do. They've all been tendered for. It's a very complex process, all of that. Surely they should have brought you in at the consultation stage, because I could actually foresee that you as a scheme could administer landlords as well.
Well, absolutely. And to be fair on the department of the government department, there has been a lot of talk since the fee ban announcement, and there's a lot of engagement. And I did recognise the bones of some of the ideas that we have discussed. But politics is politics, and politicians need to grab the headlines, and you can't control ministers to get up there and policy announcements that are made to the general public before anybody else has actually been warned about them coming. So, yes, slightly better than, say, on the fee ban, where it literally came out of the blue. but again, a bit of a heads up would have been really helpful, so that we could manage the expectations of the inquiries we get, and the industry to be talking, and helping the government to implement what could be, on the face of it, good ideas, or could be an absolute disaster.
What about communicating this to the landlord community? We have just come out of the debate. There were 15 people there. We're preaching to the converted. They're actually at a show like this to learn something or to understand something. What about all the other 1.82 million landlords out there in the UK? Some of them who haven't even heard of Section 24 or tenancy deposit protection. How is government going to communicate this to the landlord community?
Well, I mean, on the slightly pessimistic front, government does not have the resources, it says, to mass publicise a lot of these ideas. So they rely on those people that are going to implement it, people like yourself and ourselves, to get the information out. Now, the first thing that we need to know is the absolute details, so we can go out and give the correct facts to the consumer out there. And the government needs to give us the opportunity and the conduits to actually do it. Again, if any landlord who watches, your podcasts on, property tribes, and they know that landlords are not members of you, join up property tribes, spread the word to your fellow landlords, and try and educate them. So, this is going to be the challenge, because, you're right. 11 years after tenancy deposits have come in there are still landlords that don't know they need to be protected by law. So
it's not being enforced, which takes us back to the beginning. Final question, really, to finish, Sean. Yesterday in my panel that I hosted at the debate, one of the things that came through was all the changes that are going on in Scotland and how government is looking at that, and it could influence policy in England. And one of the scary things was that in Scotland you are not allowed to evict a tenant. They have removed Section 21. Now, we've already had a shock from these announcements. I think there's more to come.
Yes, and I think this is another part of the way the government's looking at the sector. They're appealing to a demographic now which they have partly lost due to the generation rent, and they're looking for popular policies that they can promote. As with everything, Scotland do some things better than we do in England. Other times they certainly do gild the lily and go to the other extreme. I think a proper analysis of the rights of a tenant and a landlord when it comes to eviction needs to be a massive debate. Absolutely, security of tenure for a tenant and not living with the risk of being kicked out at with such short notice is something that is an issue. But equally, a landlord must have the right to get rid of a bad tenant, and that has to be efficiently done. And those people they're consumers as well. They should be allowed to be protected as well. So we need a bit more of a debate over this. And fortunately, there will be a bit of a lead in time to see how the Scottish model actually works.
Right. Well, thank you very much for being part of the landlord education process by taking part in our interview today. And also thank you to the PRS for your support of property tribes.
Thank you.
And we really appreciate that. Thank you very much to Sean Hooker from the Property Redress Scheme.
Thank you very much.